And thank you very much for joining us on PM Express. It's a conversation that we're having as we build into next year. The parties are currently, as you may know, putting together their teams to put together their manifestos. And yesterday we had a conversation. Many of you may have seen it, but we were talking about the common manifesto for our common future. And what does this look like going into the 2024 elections? The parties' manifestos must change, but what must it change to reflect? And that's a conversation that we had yesterday, and we were delighted to have David Ofosu-Dotty lead that conversation at the thought leadership event yesterday, together with the amalgam that held it. And some of the things that he said were interesting. A few things that I want to highlight from that. That are all manifestos. These are some of the things that we know, but it was good that he emphasized them. What the parties' manifestos have been lacking over the years. That one, they lack an action list. They throw about promises, but they don't tell us the clear action points. And then, of course, the issue about the IMF was key. And it was right to talk about the average length of time it takes one government to go to the IMF after the previous one has exited it, right? And that was a very important point to stress, that almost on the average, every 4 to 5 years, we are at the IMF. So by the time that the IMF program is ending, we're preparing to go back to the IMF. And a very interesting point also to note, it's not even in the interest of the parties themselves, because all the political parties who form the government tend to lose elections when they have gone to the IMF in their final year. When you go in your first year, you win your first term elections after the first term, and you continue with the second term. But when you had gone in the second term, they had lost elections. So there's something very fundamental about how voters punish governments that we've had since 1992 and exactly way beyond that. Once you make a decision to go to the IMF, and it's not necessarily the decision, but of course, the fact that they going to the IMF is an indication that the economy is on its knees. And when that happens, people suffer living conditions.
All right, so there we were, cruising through the new open-air zoo, when I realized that the park was closing in like 15 minutes. Luckily, we were in my Nissan Rogue. With its powerful VC turbo engine, well, we had time to see all the animals. Whoa! And outrun a few!
Drive the Nissan Rogue.
Take as little as 3 minutes to see if you could save on motorcycle insurance with Progressive. Come on, you've spent more time than that trying to name your bike.
How about the Crusher? I guess it's not really crushing anything.
The Silver Bolt? No.
Oh, what about Pepper? Mysterious. Is it a pet or a condiment? Surprise! It's a motorcycle.
No, that's stupid.
Get a quote in as little as 3 minutes at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
And to become really tough for people, and they in punishing the politicians. But as David yesterday said, the parties don't spend time talking about how not to return to the IMF, although they are punished for taking us there, because obviously at that time is a symptom that something fundamentally wrong had happened. Also, we see the both sides fighting each other, criticizing themselves, opposition parties also undermining each government's policies and not fulfilling and completing projects that the other had done. But he makes a very important point about the 4 common issues that manifestos, as we've seen over the years, the features of a political manifesto since 1992. And you see this throughout all the manifestos, the economy, the trade, they list them, and under each of these headings, you find a list of promises. So you talk about sports, they will tell you there will be new stadia. If you talk about the security, they will possibly tell you they will increase the number of the police and bring in more recruits. Talk about economy, all of these areas will come with their own promises. And what we've seen is that the promises tend to be quite a lot. And we counted the last time we did a manifesto tracker, more than 600 promises in one manifesto alone. In 2016, the MPP had 510 promises scattered around these issues. But then, of course, I was very interested in the analysis David did yesterday when he isolated visions that all the governments have had. And so it's not a lack of a vision, as we illustrate. It is that, as we would illustrate pretty shortly with his own points, that it doesn't feed into the action points that get things delivered, right? So you have the 992 NDC Vision 2020. We didn't quite achieve that. You have the golden age of business in 2001. We didn't achieve that, as you know. We have the 2007 NDC Better Ghana Agenda. Nothing has happened. And of course, we have the Ghana Beyond Aid. Ghana Beyond Aid is where we are currently at the feet of the IMF. So that tells you a story. But why is that? And this is just the key point about the prescriptions he put forward. And this, for me, is the most important part of it, the prescriptions. And he puts forward to try and fix the problem that I have just illustrated from his lecture yesterday. And this is the point. A few things he said. Collective mindset. There has to be a mindset change, right? And that point is very strong. The parties don't focus on that in their manifestos because you can make all the promises, right? If the people haven't got a mindset change, your policies will be frustrated. You have to carry the people along, and that starts with changing the mindset of the people, the mindset of the leaders themselves. Everybody else has to come together to do that, and others call it a mindset revolution. That I'm pretty sure you know where that came from. Akosia Bame had written extensively about that. He talks about unity, independence of the Bank of Ghana, citing cutting expenditure, which is important, especially for next year. Expenditure. How will this manifest? How to punish the minister's agenda, reducing wastefulness in the public sector, complete projects started by the other parties, and that is very important. As you see, widen the tax bracket, limit tax on businesses, corruption, procurement, and transparency. I mean, he believes these are very fundamental issues that the parties will have to address. Every manifesto must deliver on these, and they are very important, right? But in getting us to a place where we can say that we are making progress towards a first world, and it is possible. Others have done it in 30 years. We can do so if our manifestos begin to address the digital economy. The national attitude is another very important point. Stimulating economic growth, branding Ghana for tourism, and something he said that was important, branding Ghana as a center of the world, right? And indeed we are. It's as simple as just stating a fact, but yet that hasn't happened. Create an energy hub, which something that he puts forward quite strongly, and also focusing on the issues of mandating, finding a way to get the parties to include the points I've just said, but also getting them to implement them when they come in. As we've noticed, a vast majority of the promises the parties make are not fulfilled because, as you've noticed, they don't address the fundamental point. They don't address the fundamental reasons why we're where we are. So tonight, hopefully, we can get some commitments from them, and you're here joining me. And we'll be doing a lot more of this as we approach the 2024 election. Stay with me.
Daddy, this tank is big.
Yes, that's true.
It can store a lot of water.
That's so true.
Wow, it has a working tortoise on it.
That's so true.
I can see F-I-N-T-E-X. Syntax.
That is so true, my daughter.
When it falls down, it will spoil.
That's not true.
But why?
Hey! Syntex was the first to introduce double-layer tanks in Ghana. Syntex again was the first to introduce white inner layers in Ghana. Syntex gives you the biggest warranty, 7 years. No matter your water needs, Syntex is the answer. Syntex tank. Are you strong? Are you tough?
Before Ogun, the god of iron, I stand on oath.
It is the biggest play in the history of African theater.
Is it not ignorance that makes the rats attack the cats?
This December,
there are kings and there King.
Image Bureau, in partnership with April Communications and the National Theatre, presents
Odewale, King, son of Ogundele.
Olarotumi's theatrical masterpiece, The Gods Are Not to Blame, goes live Saturday 2nd and Sunday 3rd December at the National Theatre. On stage, David Donto, Mauli Semevo, Fred Amugi, Andrew Tando Adote, Na Ashoko, and a lot more. Tickets are selling now for only 150 CDs at Nalem stores, Airport Shell, Starbites, Pinkberry, and Frankie's Osu. Go digital at www.imageprogh.com or dial star 711 star 11 star 25 hash. Supported by Niplan's Car Rentals, Ghana Tourism Authority, IPMC, our media partners, and proudly brought to you by Ebony Condoms and Stanbic Bank.
Because all lizards lie prostrate. How can one tell which lizard suffers from bellyache?
Can he tee up someone in red? And it goes towards...
What 5 champions league? You want to know? I be the real goat. Chairman. I'm the real goat. The left magician.
Who is the goat? Ghana Jollof or Nigerian Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God.
No, that shit. You two they lie. Eh? Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey! You are lying. Ghana Jollof.
I do this here. Forget everybody. Yeah.
My guy. Put your papa in the jar. Put some respect on the goat. On the goat. The only goat I know lives in Tama.
Every year we dey give to you back.
We are talking about BET. I want some Yaji face.
Except be the goat, huh?
My guy, he be the goat.
Our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof. Alomo Bitters always brings us together. Alomo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18, nor recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA approved.
Every day, people have money emergencies. Mom, I need my school fees. Emergency.
Mommy,
chop money emergency. Emergency. Catch it. I'm your rent. Emergency. Now, there's a new emergency number in town.
More money, challenge and enjoyment. At the top life we got.
Dial star 770 hash for all your money emergencies and chop life.
Dial star 770 hash for money emergencies and get easy and quick access to your money, loans, and other banking needs. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
So cool, so clean. My newfound love and buddy. Aquadot's natural mineral water, made under strictly hygienic conditions with modern technology to ensure your quality. With Aquadot's natural mineral water, your safety is at heart. For bulk purchase, call 0257205656 or 0559765777. You can also visit us at Hacho Ecomog Accra or Dotland Noi Limited, Hacho Rabbit, Aquadot Natural Mineral Water. This advert is FDA approved.
Before Ogun, the god of iron, I stand on oath.
It's the biggest play in the history of African theatre.
Is it not ignorance that makes the rats attack the cats?
This December,
there are kings and there are kings.
Image Bureau, in partnership with April Communications and the National Theatre, presents
Odewale, King, son of Ogundele.
Olarotumi's theatrical masterpiece, The Gods Are Not to Blame, goes live Saturday 2nd and Sunday 3rd December at the National Theatre. On stage, David Donto, Mauli Semevo, Fred Amugi, Andrew Tando Adote, Na Ashoko, and a lot more. Tickets are selling now for only 150 CDs at Nalem stores, Airport Shell, Starbites, Pinkberry, and Frankie's Osu. Go digital at www.imageprogh.com or dial star 711 star 11 star 25 hash. Supported by Niplan's Car Rentals, Ghana Tourism Authority, IPMC, our media partners, and proudly brought to you by Ebony Condoms and Stanbic Bank.
Because all lizards lie prostrate. How can one tell which lizard suffers from bellyache?
And PM Express is always brought to you by Syntex Tanks. It is strong, it is tough. Our Lobo bitters experience greatness in every moment. Ghana AIDS Commission also. And as you know, Syntex Tanks is the tanks for you if you want to store water, because it's the first to introduce a double-layer tank. And now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tanks is first to introduce the white inner layer tanks in Ghana. We now introduce you to the customer specs order, which lets you order any color and size of preference. Syntex Tanks gives you the longest warranty of 7 years, which no other tanks gives you in Ghana. Now, so whatever your water consumption, size of project or demand, choose Syntex Tanks. We have agents nationwide. You want to call them on 0244-335-168 or shop online at syntexgh.com. A strong, a tough. I want to bring in my guest right now. Mustafa Bande is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Haruna Mohammed is the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party. We're also joined by the General Secretary of the CPP, Nanaya Jantwa. And then we have the 2020 presidential candidate of the All People's Congress also joining us for a conversation, Hassan Ayariga. And one of the things I really want to start to unpack is to understand from the parties how you go about preparing your manifestos. Let me start with the NDC. What is the process from conception to launch of the manifesto? How do you compile what we see in the manifesto?
Okay, so thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to our cherished listeners. I haven't got an accurate, following as to how previously it was done, but at least I do know that as a party we have a manifesto committee, which is a very technical committee made up of prominent individuals of special expertise from various sectors of the economy.
Wendy's Peppermint Frosty and Frosty Cream Cold Brew make the perfect gift for anyone in your life. Especially for you. Yeah, this year you're sitting on your own lap and getting yourself what you want. Finally. And now every day this season, unlock 20% off your total when you get any small, medium, or large Frosty in the Wendy's app. So order something from your own wish list this year.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's with app offer and registration. Applies to menu items only. Taxes and fees excluded.
Does managing your healthcare feel like a full-time job? Bounced from one doctor to the next? All the forms, the bills, the not-a bills, the...
Press 4 to repeat these options.
Does healthcare have to be this way? At Kaiser Permanente, all of us work together to make healthcare easier. And with integrated care and coverage, all you have to do is focus on your health. Learn more at kp.org. Kaiser Permanente, for all that is you.
Kaiser Foundation Health Plan of the Mid-Atlantic States Incorporated, 2101 East Jefferson Street, Rockville, Maryland, 20852.
All right, so there we were, cruising through the new open-air zoo, when I realized that the park was closing in like 15 minutes. Luckily, we were in my Nissan Rogue. With its powerful DC turbo engine, well, we had time to see all the animals. Whoa! And outrun a few!
Drive the Nissan Rogue.
Jessica, this is the happiest day of my life. Right up there with the day I bought my RV and insured it with Progressive. Man, I love that thing. There are a million fish in the sea, which I'm reminded of every time I bring my RV to the lake, but I vow to love and cherish you just as much as I cherish campsites with full electric and water hookups. I'm so sorry.
Protect your beloved with an RV policy from Progressive. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you could save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Who looks at the problems and then prepare a solution to the problems. And so that, builds up into how a manifesto is done. It goes through the party structure. Then there are other committees that will review same. And then it goes to the leader of the party. At least I do know that is how our manifestos are being prepared. But these current...
and importantly, in the process you've mentioned there, I don't see broad, popular consultation of the people.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. So then, what I do know, the new thing that I've seen since we came into office is that President Mahama have tried to drive a manifesto that is consultative in nature. And so if you recall, before he came up with his manifesto, the recent 24-hour economy policy, he had an engagement with industry players, had some engagement with stakeholders. In fact, he had to even tour some part of the country to consult with stakeholders. So farmers, carpenters, chiefs, nurses, teachers, all of these people pick their thoughts into the build-up of a particular policy. And that's how come we came by the 24-hour economy policy being driven by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, because the people who are going to be drivers, who are going to be beneficiaries or key players as far as the policy is concerned have all been consulted. Association of Ghana Industries have been met. They met recently with...
but that was after the thing had been announced?
No, we met before and after.
Okay, stay with me. I want to understand this process with the MPP. What's your process?
Thank you, Ibas. I would like to say good evening to Charis viewers out there. And my good brother, it looks like the government is very good for him. We've been speaking over the phone. I never knew that the government has taken over him. Good to see you on this very big platform. Yes, we in the MPP, we have a classical way we deal with our manifesto. In the preparation of every policy document, there comes a baseline. There has always been a baseline on which the MPP first into when it comes to the preparation of manifestos to be presented to the people of Ghana, to be given a term to govern. If you look at from 1992 to date, we have always engaged ourselves in writing in terms of assessing the needs of the people. If you are putting together a manifesto, we have similarly, just like a manifesto committee, we have different sector committees headed by specialized persons in that particular industry. If you come to health, you have a person that is chairing the health committee, definitely comes from the health sector. We put together other industry players, people who are very familiar with the activities in the health sector. When it comes to agriculture, we put together a team. So if you look at Micheal Kottoh, he was obviously part of the agri committee who had always led in the writing up of what comes from agriculture. We look at trade and industry. We also look at the issues of economy and look at issues of social interventions. These committees are commissioned and asked to go into the public and to assess information and do proper consultation with industry players and other sectors of the economy to be able to get input into whatever the party is going to present to the people of Ghana.
How do these groups that you consult, how extensive is this? Because I've heard you say,
if you look at,
and what in the past, what we've seen is you go to meet AGI, you go to meet the association of, let's say, GUTA, but in terms of getting the real feedback from people in communities.
What I know is that in the past, if you look at the role of NDPI, that is the National Development Planning Commission, NDPC, you look at the way budgets and plans are being done at the local level. You see, we have the communities where we have the community action plans. The community action plans also move into what we call the area level plans. The area level plans also move into what we call the district development plan. These plans are harmonized into one document that we call the district development plan. And these documents are documents that our party, we have prioritized in terms of picking them and ranking them. Either we use pairwise ranking or we use
It's important what you're saying.
To be able to pick them.
What you're saying is you rely on the NDPC National Development Plan.
It is one of the sources that we go into to also pick and add to what the consultations that we do from the industry players.
Are you not just saying this because it was something that was said yesterday that we should integrate?
No, I have
just
been,
making this up.
I have been in that sector for some longer time. Before I joined politics, I've worked in the public sector for 12 good years. And up to now, I've worked in the public sector for 18 years now. So I understand exactly what happens when it comes to planning. I have, for example, if you look at...
No, we understand how the NDPC comes up with the plans.
Yes.
But what you're telling us is, in drafting and crafting the NPP manifesto, you rely on
we
the
also
NDC,
pick some of this information. Yes, NDPC documentation is very important to manifesto development because these are places that they put together the plans that seek to project the national interest. So in preparing our manifesto, we are very much interested in that. And that is why I'm saying that we pick some of these informations apart from consultation with industry players and sector-specific consultations.
And the question I asked you, which brought up this answer, was how representative is your consultation in terms of the people that you reach out to pick the thought? And you bring this up. Doesn't mean that you rely on the NDPC's community engagement and the results thereof
I'm saying
as your way of...
No, not rely on that. It's one of the sources. Okay. I told you that we have industry-specific persons who are heading sector committees.
But you do community engagements?
We do.
Okay.
We do community engagement. We engage students.
Let me go to this CPPs and then I Johnson. And I thank for joining us tonight. Manifestos are very important. Yesterday there was a suggestion that we should even ban them. We'll come to that. I want to understand for the CPP. What's the process for you in putting this document together? How consultative is the process?
Very consultative. Good evening and good evening to your guest in the studio. It's very consultative, and we are a very grassroots party. Looking at how manifestos are. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Looking at how manifestos are formed, when you look at the mode and the form, it's very common to parties because you have committees and these committees put everything together and we have experts in the party who look at the various sectors of the economy. So we do a lot of consultation. We use our executives at the regional level, at the constituency level, to garner information on what exactly the people want. So we put these documents together. But you said the issue of whether we ban it or not will come later. But overall, this is how we go about it. You cannot do a manifesto without doing any consultation. You can't sit in the corner of your house or your office, your party headquarters, to put a manifesto together. You need to know what the people need. You need to know what Ghana needs. Because at the middle of the manifesto, at the fulcrum of the manifesto, is the fact that Ghana is first. And before any party does that, that party should understand that whatever they are doing in the document is what is meant to put Ghana forward. The moment it becomes inward looking, that looking at what party members want, then it becomes another problem. It ceases to be what is useful and it becomes a party manifesto. Maybe as time goes on, we should stop calling it a party's manifesto because whatever the party stands for, whatever the party is going to do is for Ghana.
So what do you want? What do you propose we call it?
It's a manifesto for Ghana because what are you intending to do? You are intending to rule the nation, whether you win or not. It is an intention. At the point of preparing that manifesto, your party has an intention to rule the people of Ghana, to develop Ghana, to ensure that Ghana is good, to ensure that the resources of Ghana, both natural and human resources, are harnessed to the benefit of everybody. So the first thing is for you to look at Ghana. Every party, with the CPP, we look at Ghana first. What will be good for the Ghanaian? And that is what it should be. Foremost. because the Ghanaian should be the person who is going to benefit from the
and yesterday, and we'll come to the specific, and I want to come to Hassan Ayaga and come back to the studio, and he listened. I want to deal with him on the specifics. Yesterday, Mr. Ayaga listened, I know because he had reached out to me, to the prescriptions by David Ofosu-Dorte on what the manifestos must address. And it lays out the 30 points that all the manifestos must address. And I want to start with the first most important one. And Ms. Ayaga, I know you are in the process of finalizing your internal arrangements to elect a flag bearer, but you represented the party in the last elections. Collective mindset is the first thing that the widow Ofosu-Dorte said. A change in the mindset. How are you factoring that into your planning? Is that even part of the agenda?
Good evening to you, Evans, and good evening to your viewers in there, and my sister Jantua. Yes, yesterday I listened to you, and I was a bit disappointed because I thought that we could invite many of the other political parties to have representatives in our discussions, because it matters about political parties, and political parties must be concerned about political manifestos. First of all, what is a manifesto? We're discussing this on a daily basis. There are many people out there who do not even understand what a manifesto policy document is.
What is it for you?
Yes, it's a document designed by political parties with their intended policies, when given the power, will change or transform a country based on those promises and policies they make. This is a simple manifesto. Now, you asked about a common manifesto. And I'm of the view that, yes, of course, we will need a common manifesto and not a political manifesto. Because I don't think we are matured enough to use political manifestos to arrive or achieve our purpose. Because we've seen it over the 32 years, that the two major political parties that have won power over the years have misused that policy document we call manifesto. Because at the end of the day, the promises they've made to the young people, they are unable to solve that problem. So I am of the view that we should have a common manifesto.
And what will yours look like, considering what David laid out yesterday, those 30 points? What will yours look like?
That's what I'm saying. What I believe is that we should have a nation's manifesto, like what David spoke about, National Development Plan, a manifesto made for Ghana, a Ghana's manifesto, where technocrats, politicians, stakeholders, the media, the academia, the public, will all sit and craft this manifesto that fits into the 10-year development plan. And we present it to the political parties and say, this is what we want to achieve in the next 10 years as a nation. So you as political parties should tell us how you intend to fund it, how you intend to make it feasible, how you intend to grow it, and tell us at what stage you will be able to fulfill this manifesto of ours. So all political parties now come together, look at this manifesto, and now tell us, okay, the APC, we intend to do ABC to fulfill this manifesto. And the other political parties will say it. But this plan, this policy will expose many political parties. Why? Because they go down to the grounds. They go to the grounds. And their purpose of going to the grounds is to tell the Ghanaian people that these are their own policies. Vote for me, APC. We will do A, B, C, and D. NDC comes and says, vote for John Mahama. When he becomes president, he will do this. And then on and on. Then it becomes a vote-buying kind of policy where we now spend so much money in making sure that these people buy into our policies, sweet policies. And at the end of the day, we are unable to fulfill these promises. So why do we keep doing it over and over again when actually we are not benefiting? Look at where we are as a nation.
So you're saying for your party, you want the group that you mentioned, the technocrats, the etc., to come together and frame the manifesto that you buy into. So it's not something that you're going to originate yourself. Is that your proposal?
No, I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I believe in my manifesto, but I'm saying that going forward, we should have a nation's manifesto. Where this manifesto...
How do you get that, and what would that look like? That very briefly and very specifically.
That's what I said. We will need technocrats, academia, like I mentioned, the public, stakeholders, to craft a manifesto that becomes the nation's manifesto.
Yeah, that is the question I asked you. So what about your own originated manifesto?
I mean, that's what I'm saying that. Because over the years, we have had juicy manifestos, sweet manifestos, and never yielded anything.
Okay.
The Ghanaian side.
Okay.
So of course, we have a very solid manifesto. And one of our manifesto policies is what the NDC is talking about, the 24-hour economy. We've said this over and over. But because we don't get the time, media don't get the time to make comparisons of other manifestos except the manifesto of the NDC and the MPP. Those good manifestos by the APC and other political parties are not put into use.
Yeah, okay, but the point that David makes, and I want to come back to the studio, it's not about throwing about slogans. It's about putting in place the programs in the manifesto that address the real needs of the people, right? And I want to start with the first one. I mean, I mentioned it to him earlier. I mean, he talks about something completely different, but the collective mindset. He said number one must be there, right? Do you both agree that must be the starting point of any manifesto? If it doesn't have it in it, we shouldn't even begin a conversation.
So, Evans, this conversation...
Changing the mindset.
Yes, the mindset is very important, but you also look at the differences between manifestos and promises. Mm. I've always said that manifestos should contain a commitment of the party in terms of policy, the feasibility, and for Ghanaians to judge the ability of the person making the promise to, fulfill same. So when a presidential candidate tells you, very soon you begin to buy cars on credit. Evans, I want to see a conversation a round table conversation asking the relevant questions. How are Ghanaians going to buy cars on credit? You see, so most importantly, we have to look at manifesto from the perspectives of political ideology. So the MPP has their ideology, we have our ideology.
But why does that matter?
Well, it matters because for us in the NDC, our ideology seeks to empower the deprived, bring them up, support, create a foundation for people to prosper. They believe in something else. And so the NDC comes to power and believe in a social ideology, bringing up the poor, intervening in the standard of living of the people, providing jobs. For the NDC, if you create jobs in the rural areas that pays 500 cedis, it's a lot for me coming from the village. For the MPP, it means something else. So ideology is very important.
But is it? I mean, because if you put in the framework of what we had yesterday, it must address core things. Whether you are
the core things,
you are a social democratic party or a capitalist, oriented party, liberal party, whatever it is, you must address these core points. It doesn't really matter.
The core things are the commitments of the political parties to fulfill. Look, we can sit down with technocrats and craft a national manifesto, give it to a president, but if that president lacks the commitment to deliver, he will not. Now, Evans, we are in this conversation because Nanadu have landed manifestos into credibility crisis. Because people look at it as an old man, a very experienced politician, takes a platform, makes promises, come to power, and hey, he wouldn't do it.
We are not in this because of him, as David has said.
We are
in it because, let me track back. 1995, NDC Vision 2020. 2001, Golden Age of Business.
Yes.
2007, Better Ghana Agenda.
Correct.
Ghana Beyond Aid 2018.
Correct.
We haven't fulfilled any of these. So it's not about Nanado. It's
Correct.
really about
But what is very dangerous is when you have a president who says, I will build one district, one factories, come into government, take loans, refuse to do the work. a president who then comes to say, I'll build one village.
The reason why I wanted to focus on the big picture.
Yes.
Is if I go into the NDC manifesto of 2012, I'll find many such field promises.
Unfulfilled
exactly.
promises.
That's why I wanted to focus on the big picture, which is really what David did. The big picture. It's not about whether he did it or... In fact, he makes the point that the parties come and they're accusing each other. Exactly. You're actually doing exactly
But
what
I'm
he
saying
said.
that Ghanaians should begin to hold political parties responsible.
It is about having a framework that delivers on what you say.
Every political party has a framework. No, the NDC has a framework.
The framework, you see, the point, and I want to shift us all back to yesterday. Okay. The framework is not about he didn't do it, he failed, and that's exactly what David was making the point. That parties come and then they accuse each other of failing to deliver, which is exactly what we are doing. But I'm saying that let's look at the bigger framework.
Yes.
His framework is let's look at the big items that all the parties must deliver to move us forward.
Correct.
Okay. And he lists 30 of them.
Yeah.
First of all, do you all agree that those 30 key items that he outlined that must form the broad framework is what we need to champion? Because then it's not about NDC MPP, it's about what is best for the country.
What is best for the country?
Do you agree that framework, first of all,
what is best?
What the parties must feed their manifestos into?
I agree in part, but I disagree in part.
Okay.
For me, the bigger picture is who is delivering that manifesto. We can package a manifesto, beautiful as it is, give it to Evans as a president. If you refuse to deliver that manifesto, it is not a manifesto. And so I'm saying that we should get to a point where a political party comes and says, big push. What is the big push? President Mahama says, I want to come and complete all projects, tackle all projects started by governments which they didn't complete.
But I want to focus on one of the key items in this 30.
Correct.
Complete projects started by the other party.
Correct. So political parties, Ghanaian societies like yourself should critique this policy, look at the feasibility, and then look at the person championing this agenda. President Mahama says, I'll come with 24-hour economy. What is a 24-hour economy? Does it benefit Ghanaians?
What fundamental issue within this broad framework that David sets out will the 24-hour economy address?
It seeks to address unemployment, which is a major fundamental problem in this country. 2, it boosts the economy. Okay. 3, when the economy is boosted, money will be generated, people make money, the economy stabilizes. Those are the drivers of the 24-hour economy. Companies will have to run 24-hour. Bawumia says chop bars are operating. We are saying that industries will begin to function. So if you are from the pharmaceutical industry, government comes up with incentives. What are these incentives? Okay, let's provide enough policing to make sure that the environment is well protected. Let's provide adequate lighting. Let's provide tax incentives, special incentives for companies who roll onto 24-hour.
I have a question, I'll come to that. On the point you made, I'll come back to the first one, changing the collective mindset.
Yeah.
If you institute the 24-hour policy, and the mindset and the attitude of the people, which is another part of the 30, don't have a good work ethic. The mindset is not to work hard and to work smart, but it's to be lazy and not being productive.
Ghanaians are not lazy.
No, I'm just saying. I'm asking a question. Yes. I'm asking a question just to draw you back to my other question. If you have a 24-hour policy, but with a mindset that doesn't believe in productivity, how would you execute that?
I believe that every Ghanaian is waiting for a good government to provide a platform for prosperity and hard work.
And they will automatically just start working hard.
It is not
when
automatic.
the evidence shows that our work ethic is
It is
poor.
not automatic. But
the mindset is not.
The mindset is that you can work for 24 hours.
But why don't you tackle the mindset first? Shift it sufficiently enough to be ready to do 24 hours.
The mindset is tackled by having a committed, disciplined president. A president who is willing to tackle the rots in his government. A president who is willing to tackle the problems of the people, a president who is willing to crack the whips. We need that kind of a disciplined president to be able to deal with the mindset. So people are have the tendency of doing the wrong thing.
In a way, David mentioned discipline.
Yeah, so if you have a president who cannot discipline his government, he cannot discipline the society.
Yeah, I mean, Haruna, you first of all agree this framework is what the parties must play within.
Yes, sir. For me, I agree entirely because yesterday when I had the opportunity to speak, I look at the 30 points. You can pick some items from it that we have started doing. One aspect is cutting down expenditure, looking at trade and business, looking at delivery on infrastructure, digitalizing the economy, discipline, stimulating economic growth. These are factors that were mentioned, and I think that it is very valid when it comes to preparation of manifestos. And when we are carving these things out, we need to be very mindful of these particular items. You mentioned about mindset, collective mindset. For example,
changing the collective mindset.
You change the collective mindset. And if you come out with a policy and then the people's mindset still stays at where it is very difficult to change.
Ghanaians that made the one district, one factory thing fail.
Please. You try to change the topic to 24, a non-effective 24-hour conversation.
No, I'm just saying that.
Yes.
You're also repeating what David to make.
That's why I am not going there. I want to stay on that course.
How do you propose to have that mindset?
Yes. So what I propose is that we need to have a national conversation around it, because there's no political party that can change entirely the mindset of the people, except you drive it along with the people, so that the people collectively accepts the policy, the people works with it, they own it, and then they try to appreciate the effect of that particular policy on them. In that state, their mindsets will start to train to tell them that it is positive for us. But if you are not able to work on that mindset, they will always think about negativity.
Your approach is to have a national conversation.
Yes.
That automatically fixes the mindset.
No, but continuous national conversation on that particular aspect will definitely change the mindset. Because if you don't engage the people and interact with them, they will not appreciate what you are presenting. So if David is talking about mindset, I believe that it is about continual engagement, having a national conversation around that. Because this has nothing to do with one individual. It has to do with several other people in the country. So if you don't have a national conversation for people to appreciate the level of preparedness, it is not going to have any positive impact. So I believe that it is something all of us must look at. And I agree entirely with that particular fact.
We are already doing that.
How does that? But more specifically, though, have you begun the process of fine-tuning or, in fact, crafting your manifesto yet?
No, we haven't. We just elected the flag bearer. We are doing several things at a time, and we are picking issues by issue. So we will get to
because you're in government. I need to ask you. One of the items in there is cutting expenditure. It must be one that all the parties address. And you look at the manifestos, both NDs and MPP. I've been reading manifestos for a very long time. You rarely find a very detailed, thought-through proposition on how to cut government expenditure if you win power. Are we going to see that in the 2024 manifesto?
I think that how to cut expenditure, you've seen what Akufo-Addo has presented when we have these austere measures to be able to reduce.
What did he present?
One, some of the ministries were cancelled, some were merged, and then some particular allowances
there was a couple
and salaries to ministers and other public CEOs were being cut by a certain number of percentage, including himself. Fuel coupons and what have you.
But where's the evidence? And I asked this question.
The point is
knowing that I've asked the deputy minister before, if you've cut salaries of ministers, it's a very finite thing that is measurable. So how much have you saved, and what have you used the money for? Nobody had provided an answer.
The point is that
so how do I believe that happened?
You agree that the person, if he was taking 80 cedis, has not been paid 80 cedis?
No, I don't know that. I'm saying that unless you
they have told you, and you have not made the effort to find out whether the person has. Yes, you haven't made the effort.
No, we have. I have asked the deputy finance minister that question explicitly. How much has been saved since this cut was announced, and what was the money used for? That's something that the budget should
The
actually
point is
have.
that we are talking about cut in expenditure. The president's salary is not the same thing as he was taking, and that is a fact. The vice president's
so how much
salary,
have you saved since? I mean, I'm not asking because you
yes,
we don't
yes,
know.
I will not be able to
Deputy
produce
Minister
it,
couldn't
but the
tell
point
me.
is that you've asked specific measures that will be used to cut down expenditure, and I'm giving you specific activities and events that has taken place that has definitely cut down expenditure. Because if you have to expend 200,000 in a particular month, because of the cut in expenditure in terms of salary payment, in terms of coupon releases, in terms of certain budgetary allocations that have been reduced, I think that you are not going to pay that
to the
much.
bigger point.
Cost is being cut.
To the bigger point.
Yes.
These cuts you mentioned, and there are questions around that, these cuts only happened after the crisis. The proposition is to have, NDC is not in power yet, but they should have in their manifesto a paragraph or whatever is very extensive on reducing expenditure. You agree that that's necessary?
It's necessary.
Whether you're in government or not.
You see, reducing expenditure is something that is not conclusive enough. Sometimes you be in government and then at a point in time you decide that this particular expenditure has to be cut or this particular expenditure has to be withheld in terms of implementation. So cutting down expenditure is not one-off event. It is a process. Once you begin to realize that this one is a variable cost, this one becomes a fixed cost, this one becomes... So you set that particular standard as to which cost you have to do away with. So it is not just an event, but also a process. So we can't definitely say that this expenditure, because future expenditures determines.
For manifestos to be credible,
yes, those manifestos,
give us those details.
It will cover areas that you seek to cut immediately, but there will be areas that you would have to cut because they become waste. You get it? They become waste once you begin to do the implementation. So you look at those areas continuously as you go. You don't take it as one-off event.
Okay, I'll come back to the studio, but I want to jump now. So the CPP, specifically, what's your manifesto going to look like in terms of delivering on these key top items that all the manifestos must do? Because CPP, I need to ask you this. I mean, Nkrumah started off by trying to change the African mindset, and that was a key thing on the list of things that all manifestos must do. Forging unity, independence of the Bank of Ghana, cutting expenditure, we talked about that, reducing wastefulness in public sector, complete projects of the past that we've abandoned. We look forward all the time when we have a lot in there. Will your manifesto deliver these and how?
Evans, I thought that we were not part of the conversation. For a longer time, the NDC and MPP were taking all the time. The point is that, you see, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, yes.
Hello? Yes. This 30-point, whatever it is concerning what we have to do with the manifesto, is somebody's views, and I don't think that it is cut in stone. And I also don't think that we should go by it strictly. These are his views. You see, in my leadership masterclass, I was taught that leadership is course. And every other thing is the effect of leadership. If the leaders that we have, they themselves change their mindset, it will go along with the people. Because if you see leaders spending money anyhow, living very flamboyant lifestyles, sitting in big cars, while ordinary people are suffering, they will think that, after all, what is the point? Leaders should be prudent. And you see, Ghana is not Accra. Ghana is not Kumasi. When you go to the villages, the farmers, they are quick to go to their farms to work. But sometimes after they have harvested their farm produce, they cannot even get somebody to market it for them. Most of the products are left at the farm gate. Some are even rotten, especially the very perishable ones. So the system itself should take care of the orientation by the way we do our things. We certainly, the CPP's manifesto will look at prudence, cutting of costs and all that. But we need an economic development plan from Starting from promised time, we put all these there's a feedback. We put all these development plans together and prune it and see what will be good for the nation. I believe that when these development plans are put together, parties should be mandated to work from the development plan. So part A, if you win power and you come, page 1 to page 4, you make sure that that is what you can do. You don't take more than you can chew. For instance, the MPP is the government that is in power. When they talked about one district, one factory, everybody was excited. We thought that they were going to build actual factories in the districts. On their campaign trails during the rallies, they actually said that they were going to build factories. Then later on, when they started turning it into a business support scheme, then they said that if you go into our manifesto, we said that we are going to support the private sector. And truly it is there. But on the campaign trail, they didn't say so. So, but if we have an economic development plan that everybody knows about, then artists will work from that economic development plan. Because you see, Evans, let me tell you, most of these manifestos, they rot on the shelf. They gather dust. Even the people who write the manifestos, when they come to power, I don't think they even open it. They start their development agenda based on the exigencies, based on what the people want immediately, based on what will give them some political marks, roads. Then they go there and they do it. This, that. They don't even work according to their manifesto. So this issue of manifestos, I think that we should have a national economic development plan. And that plan will be the plan that we will work from. So you do up to page 3. You make sure that you have finished 1, 2, 3. Then the next government will also continue. We should even have an economic evaluation committee that will evaluate these governments as they implement the economic development plan. Because you see, it's become like a charade. It's become like some form of custom that every 4 years a party will do a manifesto, and that is it. You see, the real manifesto is the village. The real manifesto is when you are going to Tamale and you see all these mad houses in Ghana today, when all the bad roads that we have, the bad health facilities that we have, bad educational institutions where people, young boys and girls are learning under trees. And that is what we should look at. The plan should be, with all the resources that we have, how can we harness it to benefit our people? Please go to places like Dubai. They are on the deserts. But look at how they have developed their country. Even when we see the films, the pictures, can't we do the same? We have more resources than they have. So we believe that there's the need for us to be serious, to have an economic development plan, even in the constitution, that when you come, it should be mandatory, it should be legal, it should be constitutionalized, that you cannot just get up to a manifesto, put it in a corner somewhere and let it be. No, you have to go according to the economic development plan. You have Vision 2020, agenda this, agenda that. Everything is there.
Yeah,
you should put the NPPs to work.
And Anna, you raise an important point I want to bring Hassan Erga into very briefly. Do you agree that all the parties must be compelled or mandated, as it was suggested yesterday also, to stick to one broad plan, at least one framework that spells out what this country's objectives are, and parties must deliver on those?
Clearly, this evening when you were asking the question of the issue of what Adam said yesterday, I was not privy to what Adam said yesterday. So I couldn't answer that question. But I was only talking based on what you just asked.
Yes.
And that is of the view that we should have a common manifesto. And that manifesto should not be coming from political parties and be helped drafted by political parties and stakeholders. But then you spoke about the mindset. We need attitudinal change to be able to have a proper mindset. And this cannot be done by law. It can only be compelled by regulations and law. But to force the Ghanaian people to say that we need you to have some certain kind of attitudinal change in order to fit into what we want us to do, for instance, have a common manifesto that my sister is explaining, we have gotten to that stage now. We have gotten to the stage where we all must come together to agree to disagree, to have a one common manifesto for Ghana and build a country that needs all this infrastructure we are talking about. We cannot be lying all the time to the people. When we get votes, we come with excuses. When we win, we come back with lies. When we want the vote, we keep telling them. I mean, enough of that. We have deceived the Ghanaian people for too long. And that is why this year, if we are not careful, there's going to be voter apathy. And it will increase even higher than ever. You watched last elections. We had 70 million Ghanaian voters, but we only had 11 million Ghanaians who voted. What it means that 6 million Ghanaians refused to vote. It's either they were not for NDC, neither for NPP. They just don't want to vote again because they are tired of the political lies, the political deception, the political hatred, and I mean, what Ghanaians do, what politicians do to them. So for us, in the APC, we believe in the manifesto that can build Ghana.
Okay.
We believe even if it is all of come together as political parties, sit on one table, it doesn't matter. NDC, MPP should bring their representative. APC, bring your representative. CPP, bring your representative. Draft a manifesto that can drive this nation to the...
Thank you. And Mustafa, if you...
To the best of...
I have a minute. I mean, what will change next year for you?
We are running a very consultative manifesto. We had in 2020 the People's Manifesto, for which people made input. So there was